One of the easiest ways to get an edge on the competition for good March Madness brackets is by comparing the people's bracket to what the geniuses over at Vegas think is going to happen. Now, there's a video for another time as far as how Vegas is doing so well, but with the tournament starting tomorrow, I need to make this video right now. That's why I'm doing it at an airport in between connecting flights, because I think there are three key teams that Vegas is saying has a much better chance of winning in the first round than what the rest of the people think, and you could really use that to improve your bracket. And then there's a couple long-term sleepers that can really shake up this tournament, down the road beyond just this first round. So for starters, let's start with three teams that the general people's bracket on ESPN just is not nearly as high on as Vegas, which means there's an opportunity there because Vegas is going to be right in the long run. Now, these ones might be bad cases, and maybe I'm going to shoot over three here, which is fine, but I think in the long run, this is a good mentality to try and do. The first one's UC San Diego, actually, where the people's bracket only give them a 25% chance of winning in the first round. And that's fine. Michigan is a blue blood school. They're the better seed, obviously, but Vegas disagrees. As of the last time I checked, if you were to convert UCSD's Vegas odds to actual percentages, Vegas thinks that there's closer to a 42% chance that UC San Diego is able to pull off the upset against Michigan in the first round. That's a pretty big jump from a 1 in 4 chance to what the people think compared to 42% to what Vegas thinks. I mean, that's almost a coin flip. On the topic of upsets, let's talk about two more double-digit seeds that are actually favored to win in this first round. It's not a super common thing, but when it happens, it's worth noting. And those two are UNC Chapel Hill, coming off that big win against San Diego State, and Colorado State, coming off of a lot of success in the Mountain West tournament. A couple days ago, before the UNC San Diego State game, that little at-large group actually only had a 33% chance of winning according to the people's bracket. That's now up to 40% now, since everybody saw how good UNC looks. But even 40% isn't as high as what Vegas thinks. Vegas thinks that's nearly a coin flip game, 48% chance of winning for UNC, and the line might have shifted since the last time I checked. I mean, that's a double-digit seed, essentially as a favorite. And speaking of double-digit seeds as favorites, Colorado State as well has a 37% chance of winning according to the people's bracket, but Vegas actually has them favored to win that game. So when it comes to, hey, are there safe double-digit seed upsets that we can pick immediately? There are, and there are ones that Vegas doesn't even consider an upset. Now, if you want something that is very not likely to happen, but more likely than most, what's the one very low seed, I think 14 seed or lower, that actually has a chance of pulling off a first round upset? If I had to pick one team, I would pick Troy. According to Vegas, they have a 13% chance-ish of pulling off the upset against Kentucky. The actual people's bracket, only 8% of brackets have Troy winning, so that 8% to 13% gap, while it's not massive like some of these other upsets, that might be one worth doing a little bit more digging, especially if you're not a believer in Kentucky. I actually like the Troy upset a lot more than the Akron upset that more people are picking for Akron to beat Arizona in the first round. The people's bracket have that happening in 13% of brackets. In reality, that one's closer to an 8 or 9% chance of happening. So if you had to pick one of those two, give me the Troy upset over the Akron upset. But now let's talk about Sweet 16 appearances, because, it's always important to try and have one or two that you feel good about, especially if you can have a double-digit seed that you're able to be correct on. That's a huge value add. If I had to pick two, give me VCU as the top one and Colorado State as the second highest. Those are the two teams where the people's bracket has them much less likely to advance to the Sweet 16 than what Vegas thinks. And again, that's where the gap is. It's about following what Vegas thinks and comparing it to regular people. If I had to pick a 13 seed or higher to do that same task of advancing to the Sweet 16, I think Yale would be the one that has the biggest gap of any 13 seed or higher. But what about Final Four? I think there's two more schools I want to mention. First of all, Gonzaga. They're in that 8-9 matchup early, which is less than ideal, especially because it means they have to play a 1 seed Houston in the second round. But I don't think people are fully understanding just how good Gonzaga is. Vegas is a big fan of Gonzaga. Therefore, they have the third highest odds of any of the 16 teams to make it out of the Midwest region. Think about that. The best odds of those 16 seeds, it goes number 1 Houston, number 2 Tennessee, Gonzaga right there at third. Okay, final thing, is there any double-digit seed that if I had to pick one to make the Final Four, who am I taking? I've already mentioned them once today. I'm going to mention them one more time, guys. If there's one school that Vegas really thinks has a good chance of making the Final Four compared to their seed, it's got to be North Carolina, okay? We'll end it there. I hope that this is somewhat helpful. I hope this is a practice that is new to you. Basically, all you got to do is take the people's bracket, compare that to the Vegas odds, and there should be some, room for some alpha there for you to have a better bracket. So apologize for the fact that, I'm talking to my computer, to my phone mic at an airport, right before I go get Bojangles, but I felt like this is such an important video. I had to make it here on Wednesday night, get it on the internet before I go to bed. So that way Thursday morning, if you happen to see this, maybe it's helpful, maybe it's not, or maybe we come back to this like a week from now and find out that I was somehow 6 for 6 on all of this. But cool. Thanks for watching. See you next time in a much more higher quality video. Peace out.